Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Old Town Winchester Day, as it is on the fourth Friday of every single month. Brady Cloven is sitting here next to me. We're on the Old Town Walking Mall-ish.
Yeah, on one of the side streets, yeah. Still technically primary district, but I think one of the less walked streets, Boscawen.
That's true, but I will tell you, and you may not know this, I used to have an office 2 doors down from where we are. Now, I know this is going to be shocking to you. The Daily Grind used to be on the corner.
I've heard.
My office was upstairs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I know how surprising
that.
that could be, right? It had a skylight, it had a little rooftop area to come outside. So Boscawen is one of my favorite streets.
Yeah, I think it's great. We'll talk more about it, but there's some development coming up. It could change a little bit.
It doesn't get all the love that it needs because it often is just referred to as that street where the cars have to stop to let the people walk across.
Right.
And
Where
it
I almost
doesn't
get
get
hit.
its usual name. So we're sitting at Broken Window Brewing Company. Zach Oftenberg is here with us. I'm excited to learn about the brewery and how you came to be a beer brewer and all of the things. Zach, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. So we opened back in March of 2018, about 2 years before COVID hit. So that was
Got a little bit of your legs underneath
I
of
got
you.
some legs under us before that whole fiasco. But yeah, so we were in the building for about a year before we opened, maybe a little bit longer than that. The build out and some of the engineering and a couple other hiccups. We were originally hoping to be open within about 6 months, but it actually took about 18 months. But yeah, so March 2018 is when we opened. I started with a friend of mine named Jacob, who has since moved on to bigger and better things, but he was the head brewer here for about 5 years. Since then, I've taken over the head brewing and basically all the operational aspects of the company.
I did ask you before we started how I should refer to you as the brewer or the owner, and you said all of the things.
Mr. Everything.
It's also really cool for people who have been down on Boscawen and know where you are to realize that you have a full-on brewing operation in this building. People wouldn't necessarily think that as they're driving by on their cars because it looks very small from the outside, but you've got a full setup here.
Yeah. It looks small, and to be honest, it is very small. It's pretty tight back there. We have our fermenters stacked too high because we have a high ceiling, but we don't have a very large footprint. So I tend to trip over things a lot, but we make it work.
So were you that guy that was brewing beer in his own basement for years before you decided to take this leap?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So about 10 years ago, my wife told me to get a hobby. That's basically what this turned into. So I decided I wanted to give it a try. I grabbed Jacob. I said, hey, let's go take a class. And we took a 3-hour class at one of our local homebrew stores that unfortunately is no longer around. But that kind of got me hooked. And then I just started brewing every week from there. And they say home brewing, a lot of people get into it so that they can have cheap beer. It is not cheap.
It is also a very different thing from brewing in your basement to having a full setup that you are doing commercially. I've learned from a lot of people that started off that way as well, that they started off because it was a hobby and it was something they enjoyed, and then when they decided to make that next step, they didn't really have any idea of how big of a first step that was.
It's definitely on a much larger scale. I will say the science behind it is the same. So you're still working with different water profiles, you're still working with the same ingredients and everything. It's just you're scaling everything up. In some aspects, it's actually easier because it is meant to make everything as quick as possible. So the cleaning aspect of it, which is about 90% of brewing, is actually considerably easier. You have the floor drains, you have all the pumps, you're just basically hitting buttons for that. So that's actually much nicer, but jumping into it and not really understanding the efficiencies from the home brew to the professional brewing, that's a bit of a learning curve.
And you have to come up with the recipes. Not every beer is the same. All of them are unique in their own way, but the recipes also set you apart from other brewers in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of just knowing your brewing equipment and knowing your brew house. Eventually you'll understand how many pounds of malt you have to add, how much water, the amount of hops that are going to give you the right IBU, the right flavor, that type of thing. And that's honestly more of a trial and error thing. You get to understand it, and then you can just build a recipe very quickly.
And then you have to hope that people that come in like it. I'm sure you
that
have
is
some
the
that are
main
incredibly
goal.
popular and some that were like, this is good, but I don't think I need a second.
For sure. sure. There's always going to be that flop or two. I don't like to see that happen. And to be honest, it doesn't happen too often. Beer is very subjective. So even if I brew something, I'm like, ooh, this kind of sucks. So some people still love it. So we still sell it. And in the years that we've been open, we've had one beer that we've just been like, no.
We're
not
done
gonna
with
serve
this.
Executive decision.
And honestly, the reason for that was it was one of the first beers that we brewed, and our fermentation control just went out, and it was fermented at way too high of a temperature, and it just ruined it.
So why choose this location in Old Town Winchester?
I wanted to be downtown. When I was looking for locations, I was originally looking on the pedestrian mall itself. However, this location was recommended to me by one of the contractors that I was working with, and it just fit the bill. It was, of course, historical, like everything down here, but it was a fresh slate. That fireplace wasn't there.
Wait,
none of
what?
this brick was exposed.
It
nothing.
looks
was
like
just-
that fireplace has always been here.
And it has in a sense, but it was covered with plaster and it was caved in on itself. So this is two addresses. This is 12 and 14 Boscawen Street. And there was a wall in the middle. So that wall came down even before I got to see the building. And a lot of the plaster was taken down before I got to see the building. But other than that, it was a wood floor, not nice wood, but plywood. The bathroom was right in the corner. So everything had to be relocated. Everything had to be fixed in regards to the stone and the brick. One of the walls still had horsehair in it from having horsehair mortar. Like, that's how old this place is.
Wow. So that's a good testament, Brady, that you can have a building in Old Town that may not look the greatest when you walk in the door the first time, but it certainly can be brought up to what you want it to be.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm going to say this on record, and I'm probably going to get flack for it, but I do think that Broken Window is the coolest brewery we have vibe-wise. Like, coming in here, like the exposed brick,
Oh, yeah.
the floor, the fireplace. We were just in here a couple nights ago, and it's packed in here, and people are having a great time, but it just looks so cool in here. I love being able to walk down Boscawen because on all these episodes we talk about how, yes, Loudon Street itself is very nice, and that's what you think of when you think of the pedestrian mall, but there's so much more to Old Town than just Loudon Street, and having something, a gem like this on Boscawen, just is even more reason to introduce things that get people throughout those streets, like doing some wayfinding signage. And it can start as simple as just having a sign at the intersection where it's like, hey, arrow this way if you want beer, arrow this way if you want sexy mexy, right? And then building from there and having those tours that go in and out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, one day Boscawen gets to be something that has maybe either some temporary closures or permanent ones that you can actually start exploring, the patio that you can have.
Weren't you able to have cornhole during First Fridays?
During First Friday, yeah, which I attribute to Brady's. Thank you very much. We've been able to now, when the street is closed, get out there and actually do something with an outdoor area. And that's one of the things that this place has been missing, is having outdoors. So we do stay very busy, but if the weather's really nice, everybody wants to be outside. So we'll see a decrease in traffic at that point. So being able to get out there, set some tables out, set a tent out, cornhole, which is obviously fun. Yeah, it was our best First Friday that we've ever had.
I will go on record. I will see you're on record and match you with, I don't think it would be a problem at all to close Boscawen from Indian Alley all the way to Cameron. There's not a lot of parking here, so it's not like
Right.
you're taking away a ton of parking spaces. It is much easier to be able to walk. You've got the parking lot and everything on the other side that normal people like me can't even access anyway.
Yep.
And they have their own entrance and exit out of there. And what you'd be able to get for outdoor seating, for all of the things, I think would be outstanding. Where do I vote? Can I sign up to say, yes, I'm in favor of this?
I'm not going to get too ahead of myself here, but part of our master plan that we did for that 20 years was taking a look with the consultants at Boscawen and saying, hey, can you give us some renderings, talk about what it would look like if this was closed down, whether it's temporary for a Friday night through a Sunday night kind of thing, on a weekends, and then move that to long-term closure.
Even if you do seasonal.
And I think the benefits
not.
just outweigh whatever cons you could come up with. Safety is one. I don't know, I'm a short guy, so walking through that intersection, those pillars, I can't ever see a car like a certain way.
Right.
But also, there's really no speed bumps down here on Boscawen to stop a car from going 45 miles per hour and hitting a family or something, but also just affecting the business that's happening here. Yes, Boscawen doesn't have as many businesses as even Piccadilly does now, but there's also a reason why Boscawen isn't so much an attractive spot to build that up, because you're not doing anything that's helping the business here. For First Friday, not trying to toot our own horn, but even just walking around the corner and seeing the tents out there and seeing the cornhole and seeing people makes you want to go down there and say, oh, what is this? And even if it's not bringing somebody directly into a place to have sales, maybe they go back and talk about it. Maybe they take a picture. It's hopefully bringing people back. So I am for it as well. I do hear that there might be a public meeting coming up about some bollards going in due to construction that's going to be happening, but those bollards would not just be for construction. So keep an eye on that.
Okay, we'll talk more off air.
Yeah.
But that would be fantastic for you, Zach, because it would allow you to expand your seating and just have more of that atmosphere that people expect when they come to a brewery like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, you look out the window here, you see vacant building, vacant building. Those buildings have been vacant since I've been here. I really think having this street part of the pedestrian mall would help to fill those buildings and help to vitalize the economy down here even more. And to piggyback on the safety portion of it, yeah, we have bollards on either side of Loudon Street, but a car could easily turn right down on Loudon in Boscawen. I've seen people drive the wrong way down here, coming this way all the time.
So when we were talking a minute ago about your beers, and you were talking about the one that shall not ever be named again, on the flip side of that, you have some award-winning brews.
We do. So we've entered the Virginia Brewery competition every year, except for 1 year, which was during COVID. And every year we've brought home at least one medal, if not multiple medals. Now, I can't take credit for all those years. Jacob was our brewer for the first 5, and he did an amazing job and brought home a medal every year. Last year was my first year entering, and we brought home 2 silvers, and then this year we brought home a gold for our double IPA.
Ooh. That is awesome. And that also sometimes is a double-edged sword, because once it wins awards, everybody wants to have some and try it, which means you've got to bump up
Try
your
to keep it
brewing.
on tap, yes. And the tank that won the gold this year, it won silver last year, so we even saw an influx from silver, but now from gold, we've certainly had a lot of people asking, and we'll be relaunching it this Friday, so it'll be on tap for people to try.
And there's a pretty cool story behind the name of the beer, right? Because I'm always fascinated by how different breweries come up with the names for their beers, but this one has a pretty awesome story, right?
Yeah, this one was extra special to us, not only because it won gold, but because it does have a personal meaning. So we are very dog friendly here. Dogs are allowed in. We don't serve food. You can bring your own food, but we don't serve food, which allows us to have dogs inside. Over the years, we've gained some favorite brewery dogs, and one of them was a huge Great Dane named Tank. About 160 pounds probably, so weighed more than me. I'm pretty scrawny, but just awesome dog. Had been coming in here since he was a puppy, so we've known him since he was 5 pounds all the way up to 160 pounds. And unfortunately, he, at 2 years old, he ended up passing away from bloat very suddenly. So I decided that I wanted to brew a beer in his honor, and that's why it was a double IPA, because he was a huge dog. Obviously, a double IPA is a big beer, but I didn't want it to have the crazy bitterness of what a lot of double IPAs are known for, so it was more of a gentle giant like Tank was. So I went a little bit less on the hops, a little more malt forward, but still very hoppy, just not super bitter. And we brewed that beer, and we named it The Tank after Tank. We had a really cool label made by an artist that depicted Tank jumping through our window for the broken window. And one thing that he always did was he would always take our bar towels and just shred them. So in the beer label, he has the towel in his mouth. So yeah, it was just extra special to have that one win the gold.
And that's also really cool because it gets to showcase your creativity. I think sometimes people lose that there is that part of it as well, is not just coming up with what you want to create in a recipe, but the stories behind it. You get to do the labels. There's so much creativity that goes into creating every single brew you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's allowed me to find my creative side, because I'm not necessarily a creative person. I'm not artistic. I can't play music. So this has helped with my creative side, which I feel everybody has. You just got to find the right niche.
How many beers do you typically have on tap?
We try to have at least 10 on tap. Now with the flood from a few weeks ago, that kind of put our production behind. So we actually went all the way down to 4 beers for a little while. I'm back up to 7 right now, and then once we launch the tank on Friday, we'll have 8. But a couple more weeks and we'll have 10 back on tap.
Is that normal? Is that difficult to maintain? 10 seems like a lot to me.
It really depends on the brewery and, of course, the business that you have. I don't feel that 10 is too difficult to maintain. That's really just all the room that we have for taps. And in our cold room, there's a lot of breweries that have way more beers on tap than that. But we are a small brew house. We're only a 3-barrel, so it's one of the smaller ones in Winchester. There's some 15-barrel breweries in Winchester. And don't quote me on it. A couple of them, I believe, are 15. We're much smaller than that, which means a lot more brew days to keep up. But
And a lot more flexibility sometimes.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if we screw something up, it doesn't cost us as much money either. So there's pros and cons to everything.
So when are you open? What are your hours?
So we're open Monday through Thursday from 4 to 10. Fridays we're 4 to 11. Saturday is 1 to 11, and Sunday is 2 to 8.
You guys do a ton of other events. Like you had, was it the shitty DJ party or?
Shitty Club Night.
Yes, Shitty Club Night. Like it's just
Yes.
fun events that happen here.
So yeah, Shitty Club Night. We do a quotable movie night on the 28th this month, which is a Thursday. We have the Big Lebowski coming up. We did Monty Python last month, which was a pretty good turnout. So yeah, we try to do as many events as possible. So we have a DJ on October 17th. We have a full DJ lineup where we're going to be closing the street, and it'll be an outdoor. Then we have Halloween Winchester coming up.
A little
the
further ahead.
Brewery crawl, and it'll end here with a stage and a band costume contest.
So where can people find more details? Where can they learn more about you? Website, socials, any of that?
Yeah, best place is Facebook, to be honest. That's what we do most of our social media and marketing on. We do have Instagram as well, but you'll see most everything on Facebook.
And just search Broken Window Brewing.
Yep, Broken Window Brewing.
Thank you for taking some time.
Of course, thank you for having me.
We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. Brady's going to fill me in on Fiddles and Fifths, Celebration, community meetings, a mural going on
All the
the
above.
South End, all of the things. So we'll be back to do that in just a couple of minutes. What if one day could deliver real results for your brand and your community? On September 19th, United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley will mobilize over 900 volunteers across 6 counties for Day of Caring, the region's largest single-day volunteer event. This is your company's chance to step up. Sponsor Day of Caring and help cover vital project costs for local nonprofits, from painting and landscaping to repairs and more. You'll be recognized on volunteer shirts, signage, and media. Plus, it's a powerful team-building opportunity for your employees. Your sponsorship isn't just a donation, it's an investment in the infrastructure of care that holds this region together. Visit unitedwaynsv.org/Day of Caring or contact Day of Caring at unitedwaynsv.org. Lead with impact. Show your community what your brand stands for. Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Old Town Winchester Day, as it is the 4th Friday of every month. Brady and I were just joking during the break that his community meeting is this week, so it will have happened by the time people are listening, because it's the 3rd Wednesday.
Yeah.
But this week alone, there's a 3rd Wednesday, there's a 4th Friday.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to my crazy time machine world, my friend.
I remember the first time that you and I actually recorded was because you had somebody drop out, and that threw my week off because you were like saying what day who was recording, and I was like, oh my god, this is
I know, I was telling Zach earlier, so we're sitting at Broken Window Brewing Company recording. We talked to Zach Oftenberg in the first segment, and I said, so anything you got coming up this weekend, you can actually talk about, because typically I'm recording a week or two in advance. In this case, we're sitting here on a Monday that people are listening to on the Friday right after, which doesn't always happen.
You got lucky this time.
Yeah. And he got to talk about how the tank is going to be on tap tonight for anybody that wants to come out.
Oh, I'll be here. Yeah, for sure.
So there you go. You can come in and say, hey, where's the guy that's on the radio with the
I'll come out with a big shirt. Like I was on the radio with him.
But there's a lot of stuff happening downtown, on the Walking Mall, in and around the Old Town Walking Mall. Fiddles and Fifths is on the 13th of September, but that's not your event. That's not a Friends of Old Town event. That stayed with the EDA, right?
Yep, so the EDA started that. I think this is its 4th year. EDA started that one, so they're just going to keep that one, which I'm fine with. I think my event calendar is pretty full. And I think they're getting it down to more of a science. this time around, so they've hit their stride. When you're planning events, the first couple of years are always a little rocky, so it's good to see that hopefully spreading its wings this time. And it seems to draw a good crowd every time too. You think about these other main streets or cities that have these festivals, and we obviously have Apple Blossom, but it's nice to lean into that bluegrass, Americana.
That was something unique.
Feel. Yeah. So I'm excited for it. Yeah, that'll be the 13th. The EDA is doing a really great job with the marketing. We were just talking about it beforehand, but I believe the tasting this year is going to be down at the Feltner lot, so maybe get a little love to Boscawen that way. But there'll be a band there. Brightbox is also partnering to have a band performance, so I think it should be a really good day. And then the weekend after that, I feel like there's something.
It's like bam, bam,
every
bam, bam.
weekend, because we have First Friday on the 5th of September.
And so who do you have performing at Taylor Pavilion for that?
Raised on Analog will be coming back. Yeah,
I love them.
And I feel so bad because funny story is, last year they played the Taylor Pavilion twice. So they played the first Friday, which was in April. And they're also part of the reason why we don't do First Fridays in April anymore, is because it was still so cold that there was a little bit of snow coming down, but the sprinkler system was left on and totally just drenched their stuff. So when they came back in July, it was actually my first Friday, like partnering and shadowing everything. So they were like, hey, this is not going to happen, right? We're not going to have this on here again. And I was like, no. And Jenny McDonald was like, no, you'll be fine. We had them turn off the sprinklers. Well, there was a power surge. And so it reset the sprinkler system. And they got their stuff drenched again. So my first time meeting them, they were not super thrilled, which I understand. But this time...
And they still said yes and would come back.
When I approached them about this year, I was like, hey, the sprinklers will not come on. And he was like, they better not. I even saw them the other day at Kimberly's event for first responders, and they were playing, and I was like, hey, just want to let you know, I've sent emails. They're familiar to Old Town. People love them. They play a really great cover set of 80s and 90s hits, some early 2000s, stuff you can sing along to. Last month's band, All That, it was their first time performing as a band together.
I remember because we talked a little bit about them on the show, and they were brand spanking new. You were really excited to introduce them.
Yeah, and the crowd was great. It was beautiful weather, which helps everything down here. So I'm really hoping we get that again for this coming First Friday. And I'm hoping that Zach will have another cornhole tournament going and get some people involved. I will actually not be here for this one. I'll be in New Orleans for my wife's birthday.
Well, you got to be somewhere.
Might as well be in New Orleans. But I will be thinking of you all from afar. And the weekend after that is Fiddles and Fits. And then the weekend after that is Celebracion of Winchester, which is the Hispanic festival that happens downtown that Winchester Main Street Foundation runs. And they do Restaurant Week. They also partner with Hot Blossom. But this is their other event, and that's also shaping up to be a pretty great event. It's, I believe, 12 to 5 that day. And then the weekend after that, nothing is on the books yet. That's typical Oktoberfest time, so I'm sure something will pop up with an Oktoberfest here and there. And then it's on to October.
Answer to your question, Brady. So First Friday, yes, we will have our cornhole boards out again, and we'll also have that for Fiddles and Fists, as well as, hopefully, we're still finalizing it, but we should have an adoption event for Fiddles and Fists as well with Second Start Rescues. Not too many dogs, maybe 3 to 5 dogs that'll be available for adoption, but also just some informational purposes, fosters sign up, that type of thing.
That's pretty awesome. It's one thing to have a city or a main street that has a lot of events come into it, right? But you actually need to have a lot of business owners who try to capture that and go out of their way. And Zach, you're in a special spot because you're on Boscawen. You have a little more oomph to want to do that, but you always do. We're always talking about, hey, I think I want to do this. He'll run it by me, which I appreciate. Some people don't, and I'm like, oh, I don't know that this is happening. I can always go to Zach and be like, hey, this is going to be closed this day. You guys want to do something? Or he'll come to me and be like, I want to try this. How do you feel? So I'm excited for all of that and for the future.
And that's really smart on your part, because you could very easily say, hey, look, we're just going to do what we've always done, and that whatever's happening out there can continue to happen out there. But this is good for business. It's good for word of mouth. It's good for you in a lot of ways. So I commend you on wanting to be involved and to be engaged.
Yeah, no, thank you. Any sort of community involvement, outreach, anytime we can pull people down to Boscawen and just try something different, because we can sit in here and drink beer every day, 365 days a year, but unless you're doing something different, that gets old. So it's nice to try different things and bring out new customers too.
Yeah, and I think with no slight to the other breweries, but with us being such a small area and having 4 4 to 5 breweries located within walking distance, I guess 6, you do have to do stuff that's going to make you stand out, right? Like some of them have different patio areas, and some of them have locations that just look different.
Yeah. And they all have excellent beer. So that's not what's going to bring people in. What brings people in is
all the other
events
things.
Yep,
exactly.
experience. And then outside of events, we have some pretty exciting updates with that mural project.
Yes,
So
because when we recorded at the typewriter studio last month, you were leaving that recording to go to a meeting to decide who the muralist was, because I was very upset that we didn't record after, so I could have had a sneak peek at who won.
we haven't even really announced it on social media, but we did pick a winner. So for background, this is the literacy mural project that's going to go on the front of that Thinker Toys building on the south end of the mall to really kickstart some development projects we want to do on the south end as well. John and Janice Wyatt Foundation are involved. The building owner, Brock Harris, he's involved as well. And we had our entire public arts subcommittee go through the entire 46 applicants.
Which is amazing that you got 46
in
applicants.
our first mural call, yeah. And then we narrowed that down to 3, went to the committee and said, all right, out of the top 3, we got their renderings. We wanted to be fair, so we said, hey, we'll pay you $500 each to submit what your actual concept looks like on that wall. And we got some really cool stuff back, but we went with an artist from York, Pennsylvania. Her name is Annalise Buono. You can find her on Instagram. I'll share the stuff with you if you want to post that. But her rendering was incredible. It's some vibrant colors. It's not too on the nose with childhood literacy, because I think people think, okay, it was going to be books, right? Like you think like a library, which is cool in its own right, but this has some images of children reading books and these different scenes from books coming out
Where
of it.
they're coming to life.
Yep. So everybody was very impressed. And the timeline is, because she has some other projects happening right now, she will come down here on November 1st, and the project will be finished by November 15th.
Get out.
Yeah. So all of this came to be because of a conversation with Andy Gale and Matt Peterson with the John and Janice Wyatt Foundation, the campaign for grade level reading, and things lined up, and we got a lot of people who really wanted something to happen working together, and here we go by the end of the year. What we're hoping to do with this too is like show that when we talked about last episode, in a town with a lot of rich history like Winchester, a mural doesn't mean that it has to detract from that.
Right.
Also, it doesn't mean that every building needs a mural. But I think, especially on places like the south end of the mall that need a little more love, like how we talk about how you have to do something that sets yourself apart, right? To get people down there, if we can't really deal with the physical space and leases and all that, then let's actually do something that makes people want to walk around and take pictures and remember Winchester. So super
And
excited
there
for that.
are, I'll say, several buildings that could use a mural. I'm not going to call them out. I'm not going to say which ones, but I think you and I are probably on the same page where that's concerned.
And with the historical town, you have to deal with the different guidelines for architectural review, but this one falls in line with that, so it's going to be really good.
We've had a lot of conversations, in particular the last couple of months, about art in general on the Old Town Walking Mall in downtown Winchester. I had Shen Arts Council on the show last week because they've opened their artist co-op. I had the Discovery Museum on the show earlier this week, and part of their new exhibit that will open after Labor Day is going to have a permanent art station.
Ooh,
so that kids can come in and they can actually do art, whether it's textiles or they're going to be able to paint their own faces. They're going to have all sorts of things. So I love these pockets of art. Typewriter Studio, Jill is doing a phenomenal job there. I see it all coming together now.
Yeah, it's slowly becoming a hub for arts, and I think that is also a very attractive thing for a main street. You want to have, Justin Kearns hates this, so if he listens, I'm sorry, something for everybody.
He does.
Essentially, that's what it is. You want to give people an experience, whether they're coming for the day, they're coming for a weekend, they're coming for a full week, that there is something that attracts them. And yes, a history tour is great, and like I would sign up for that. There's other things with this new generation coming through, this new generation of travel tourism. So it's exciting that we have a lot of good people in the right spots.
And you can't leave out those of us that live here. And those of us that have raised a family, that have gone off to college, that have now come back to the area to live and raise their family. They still want things to do. They want breweries to come to. They want to have what they had when they were away at college back here in their hometown. Right. And you're checking a lot of those boxes.
Yeah, I think it really helps that all of our committees are made up of people who do live here, work here, live here, play here. So it's really not so much like me coming in from a different state and being like, hey, I think this would be cool because it happened in Boston. People are talking about, oh, this is what I saw years ago, or my parents talked about, or I've lived here for 15 years and I think that we should try to do this. So anything we do has the community in mind and is usually driven by the community.
Speaking of community meeting in September, what is your topic?
Topic in September is going to be youth leadership.
Ooh.
So we're talking to a couple of organizations organizations outside of ours that have like youth advisory committees, talking about how that next generation of your Hanley juniors and seniors, people at Laurel Ridge, Shenandoah University, young leaders who are emerging. And we're going to have them come out and talk about how to get youth involved in your organizations and in community. I think that especially high schoolers are left out of a conversation a lot of times when really they should be the ones we're talking to about what do you want to do in Old Town. There's a Main Street, I believe it's Harrisonburg actually, because it's always Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg is so hip.
They work with their local high schools to have an unofficial board member spot where they sit in on board meetings.
Oh.
They lead committees. I don't know that they actually give them voting because of like age and all that. They do let them have a huge say in the process, and they've had a lot of success with that. So
I like that. And they have to work twice as hard in Harrisonburg because they are up against two college towns, much like here, where you have to remember that there is high school before there is Shenandoah or Laurel Ridge or anything else. So kudos to them. And I love that idea of incorporating it into a community meeting. I think that's going to be outstanding.
Third Wednesday of each month at Winchester Brew Works, 3 to 4. It's right before they open. It's hard to find a spot because that meeting can go from 10 people to 45 people real fast. And trying to have it in an Old Town business that is not affecting its business hours is hard. So Winchester Brew Works for now, and my office can fit 5 people total, so I don't know that we all want to pack in there. But I don't know, maybe we'll do one here at Broken Window.
Always welcome, for sure.
On the patio outside once
We'll do a
all of
cornhole
that.
tournament right afterwards.
That is perfect.
I could swing it.
So where can people stay up to date on all things Old Town, all things Friends of Old Town?
Yep, so mostly it's going to be on Facebook is where most of our social media is, and that's Friends of Old Town. You can't miss the blue logo. And then on Instagram, it's Friends of Old Town Wink, W-I-N-C, like Winchester. And then our website, which is friendsofoldtown.org, that has our events calendar on there. Businesses will submit things that they're doing throughout the week. It's one central location, we're trying to, where people can see what's going on. You can submit your events on there. There's a directory of who's here. I think it's a really good tool to figure out what's going on around here.
Fantastic. And just search Facebook for Broken Window Brewing. They can find you there.
Absolutely.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
I will be back on Monday with a brand new episode of The Valley today, a few minutes after noon, so meet me here then.